Boys, I got lost in the sauce. And I'm not talking just like I swam in a little swimming pool of sauce and it's too thick for me to get out. I'm talking like I was out on the Sauce Sea and my shipwrecked and now I'm stranded at Sauce Sea. Like I am deep in that sauce. And I just want to make this video as kind of a warning to other people because I knew going into my last relationship I had these feelings of this might not be a good idea, and I didn't listen to those feelings, and now I am reaping the consequences. But first, before we get into what those consequences are, let's talk about leading up to my last relationship, what exactly was going wrong. Now, I met her at work, and things were going quite well at the start, but very quickly things started to move faster than I wanted to. You know, I was trying to be a gentleman and not practice sexual immorality, and I was trying just to take things slow. And in the start, that kind of started to very quickly seem like not what she was on about. Um, it very quickly went from like we hung out once after work one day to all of a sudden we were hanging out every single day. And we weren't doing anything nasty yet. We were spending our time together 24/7, constantly just like smoking weed and hanging out. And she was always over. I was always giving her rides places. She, within the first like 2 weeks, started spending the night almost every night that we had to work in the morning. And like I would be her ride to work and stuff like that. And I remember talking to some guys who I was friends with at the beginning of this relationship, who I'm no longer friends with. But I was telling them, like, guys, I think this is moving too fast for me. Like, I'm not so sure about this. I wanted to take things slow, and she's asking to make out and sleep over and stuff like that already. And I wasn't about it. Before I met this girl, I had been doing a pretty decent job of getting my life back on track. I had a part time job that I was showing up to without an issue pretty much every day or every shift that I had scheduled. Um, I was working on my business on the side that summer, and I was doing a pretty good job of giving my hours and time to the business. And I was making YouTube videos and reading my Bible and going to church and doing all the good stuff for my spiritual work. I was worried when I found the opportunity for a relationship that I would lose those aspects of myself and I would get too caught up in idolizing the relationship or the woman. And that's exactly what happened. I'm not gonna lie. Like I got I got so lost in that shit. So definitely like the first red flags were that I was giving all my time to her and I wasn't focusing on myself anymore. There were definitely other people around me and even in her life that were pointing out like we were spending too much time together and moving way too fast. And I just chalked it up to young love and I thought that everything was going to be okay, but boy was I wrong. Um I only dated her for 6 months and I'm not here to just dog on a woman. This is more my fault. Um Neither of us were ready for a relationship and I let the relationship go on way too long past the point of it being healthy. Now, I'm a pretty independent person, but I can get attached very quickly. So for the first couple weeks, I was right at her side, doing everything for her, was being like the best boyfriend possible. But at some point I crash and I need time to myself and I need to work on myself. And when it came to that point in the relationship, that's when issues started to arise. Now, she had moved in with me at my parents' house because she got kicked out of her sister's house for hanging out with me too much. And her sister didn't want her around anymore because she wasn't being present in their lives. So she got kicked out of her sister's house and had nowhere to go and no money to go anywhere. So she had to move in with me, which, like, red flag number one right there. It was a week into us dating. We had known each other for like a month and a half, and she was moving in with me. That that's a big problem. So when we started living together, it was okay at first, but we were spending every waking hour together. And then a couple weeks in, I was not doing so great. And for the first time, I had asked for some space, and it ended up becoming a big fight that I didn't want her around, and that she wasn't good enough for me, and that I was being rude by asking for space. So that started and set the tone for the rest of the relationship, where I would be given no space at all, ever. And it got to the point where, like, one day I said that she was suffocating me because she just wouldn't leave me alone. And that was a mistake. That blew up into bigger problems. But that's how I genuinely felt. I felt suffocated and that I wasn't being given space. And I need a lot of space to work on myself. I have a lot of problems that I need to sit and work through. And that just wasn't being respected. And that wasn't like one of the only issues. Like, there was a big issue with like who got the attention and who needed more attention. Like, I'm not a guy who needs a lot of attention. I can do pretty good on my own, but she required a lot of my attention. There was like a running joke that, like, if I had a bad day, my parents would talk to each other and be like, "Oh, when are her problems going to become worse than Joey's? And when's Joey going to have to deal with her problems even though he's having a terrible day himself?" And that just wasn't fair to me. I wasn't given my space. It wasn't respected, and that ended in us arguing a lot. And our arguments got so out of hand to the point where she started to threaten to hit me and throw me around and get physical with me, which should have been red flag number 5, that I should get the hell out of there. But I didn't listen again. I made promises to myself, like, one time when she put her hands on me, I was like, "This is the last time." This I was telling my mom, like, "This is the last time this is ever gonna happen. I'm not gonna let this happen again. She can't keep treating me like this." And my mom very bluntly was like, "Joey, last time you said this was the last time that it would happen. It's been like 4 or 5 last times by now." And I was like, "Shit, you're right." But I still wanted to push through because I thought that I was doing what God wanted me to do and working on the relationship and not giving up. And I don't think that's what God wanted me to do. I don't think God wants me to be in a toxic relationship. And looking back, I can have that clarity now. But definitely in the moment, I didn't. I was so lost in the idolization of having a relationship, and everything about what this woman thought of me mattered. Like, I cared more about what this woman thought of me than what God thought of me. And to the point where I would do things that would directly disobey what God wants for me just to please her and please myself by making, like, it made me feel good to please her more than it made me feel good to please God. So in the moments where I had to choose between her and God, I chose her, and that's not healthy. Now, eventually, all the arguing and the fighting and all the evil that was happening all led up to one big breaking point where I finally kicked her out of my house because she was being extremely disrespectful to me on a day where I wasn't doing so good. And that's how I lost her and 2 of my friends, because she went to go stay at their house, and then my friends never wanted to hang out with me again after that. And honestly, like, that's it is what it is. Those weren't good friends to begin with if they don't have my back. And I still got a solid set of friends that have always had my back through everything, and we've been through much worse than this. So I'm at least safe in knowing that I have good friends and I didn't need those friends. But it still sucks to lose your girl and your friends at the same time. But hey, fuck it, we ball. And honestly, it's giving me time to work on myself. Now I'm on this massive like self-discovery journey where I'm getting back into making YouTube videos and working on the business and trying to get back to working, and I'm reading the Bible and going to church and engaging with the church community more. And I'm just starting to find myself again after 6 months of basically not knowing who I was and having no purpose. Like, during that relationship, I got so cold and distant that all I would do is sit on my phone and watch YouTube videos all day long, just by myself. And even if she was around, like, I was sitting there watching YouTube videos, ignoring her. Because I didn't want to interact with her, and I didn't want to deal with the problems that were happening in my life right then and there. So I drowned myself in distractions. And now that's something that I'm trying to break, is not being so distracted and being more present in my life and more creative and more taking more action. Now that I'm on this journey, it made me reflect and realize how much I lost myself in that last relationship. And that's why I want you guys to be careful when it comes to women, especially with idolizing them and stuff like that. Just be careful and make sure you're secure in yourself before you get into a relationship, and make sure in a relationship that you protect your independence and everything you've built for yourself, and don't let anything tear you down from how great you were doing. But anyways, that's all I got to say, boys. Just my one piece of advice is don't get too lost in the sauce, or else you might not come back. I'm lucky I did. So, anyways, I hope y'all have a blessed day. Thank you for listening. Check out the YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, all that good stuff for more content. And I will catch you guys another time. All right, deuces.